for another episode of Crisis Currency Conversations, which we are going to change that very soon. It's actually going to be Crisis Currency Chats. Welcome for another episode. We know, given what we've all experienced this week, it has been very trying for all of us. And so this particular discussion today is near and dear to me. And so my name is Larvetta Lofton. I run the L3 agency. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. If you've been following our episodes every week, we thank you. We hope you'll share this message with someone you love. We hope that you will subscribe this. But the reason why I am sensitive about today is given what we've had to experience. And I think it is time that we talk to Black men. It is time that we talk about Black men's health. We know what's being said in media. And so I have some thought leaders, entrepreneurs, minority-owned business owners who are changing the world literally one man at a time. And so what they do. So I'm excited to bring them. So it's been a tough week for me. And, I start off every episode with what brings me joy. And so it's really hard for me because finding joy this week was difficult given what has happened in America. But I will say that I was able to do something that I hadn't done in a while. I was able to get my nails and my feet done. Unfortunately, you can't see my feet. But if you can see my nails, I was able to do that. I am out of Chicago. I was able to visit a Black-owned nail tech salon here in Chicago. It's called A Polished Work. And I'll be honest with you, it was safe. It was beautiful. And more importantly, it brought me joy. And so for those that are watching this and you are in Chicago, certainly support your Black-owned businesses. For me, from the moment COVID happened, I was intentional with supporting a Black business every week. Whether that means purchasing food and having it cooked and shipped to my house and to my family's house, or I was ordering a product or service. So this is a time for us to support Black businesses. And so who I'm about to introduce to you are entrepreneurs. The reason why I built this was I wanted us to create currency in a crisis. What you know to be true is that out of crisis comes progress. Comes currency. And so currency for us is about relationships. And these men, some of them I have a relationship with them, and some I don't. But I know with them coming on today, they're going to give us a breadth of information. So I am excited to have them, but please bear with me. I'm also very emotional, very sensitive to our Black men. My father, is a Black man. I have a brother. And so I certainly have watched them both. I've watched my dad get pistol whipped at the age of 6. I've watched my brother be a victim of police brutality. I've witnessed it myself, and I had to advocate for them both. So for me, as a woman who's had to sit and advocate for them, I will continue to advocate for Black men. So without further ado, and I'm going to do this in order based on their last names, because as a former journalist, that's just how you're supposed to do. So I am going to introduce Eric Dixon to our show. Eric, hello.
Hey, hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate this.
Thank you so much for saying yes. We appreciate you and the work that you're doing, because you're back to work, right, Eric? You're back to work.
I'm so grateful. Yes, I'm back to work. Business is running. I'm just, I'm here and just grateful to be able to get back to work. It's been a rough 4 months, for the hair industry. So
yeah,
I'm just grateful.
Yeah. It's a form of gratitude, right? That we get to go back to work and do what we love, because all of us as entrepreneurs are doing what we love to do, and when we're robbed of that, it's something, right? So. Yes. Next, I want to introduce Dr. Kwame Fouché, who is our medical doctor. And so welcome.
Thank you, Larvetta. How you doing?
How you doing? Welcome.
How you doing?
Good to see you, Eric. How are you?
Good to see you, man.
And so next I have Larry Roberts, who is out of Chicago and has Larry's Barber College here in Chicago. And so thank you all for saying yes to this discussion. And so I really want to dive right in. I know we've got 60 minutes, but I know you all got a lot to share, and we're going to get you all off in 60 minutes so that you all can continue to do what you do. So I'm going to just start a little bit, Eric, kind of tell me, how did you pursue, your business? Like, is this something that you dreamed about, or was something that you, kind of got in as an accident?
It's an interesting story. I At one point I wasn't really thinking about cutting hair. An event happened where I went to a barbershop 10 years ago. Scalp got infected, and I had to learn how to cut my own hair because I stopped kind of, it scarred me from one of the barbershop. And, I'm an artist, so I just kind of picked up, cutting hair over time. And I was just doing it kind of like, just to make side money, and it just became a passion. And 10 years later, it just grew into something major. And, I just really enjoyed the craft of being able to make people feel good and look good,
Nice. So I'm going to go to the medical doctor, Dr. Fouché. Can you tell us, was this a dream of yours to be able to pursue becoming a doctor?
Well, thanks for having me, Larvetta. What a great format and a great opportunity to talk to men and be on this great panel with Eric and Larry. Little to probably many of your knowledge, one of the first things that I learned how to do as a trade was cut hair. And when I was a freshman at Morehouse College, I would get done with track practice, and the guys would line up, especially on Friday afternoons. And we probably get it. I wasn't like you guys. You guys are pros and fantastic artists. But, for college kids at Morehouse, getting yourself cleaned up for the weekend was really important. And especially for me, just trying to make it down there, it was a nice way to put some change in my pocket. So I started off as a barber, but I went on to become a family physician. And now I am venturing off as an entrepreneur after almost 20 years practicing medicine to focus on something I feel is very important for our community, and that is strengthening fathers and helping them to build better, stronger relationships with their children and keeping dads engaged when times are difficult. And so I've written a book, and you have my website there. So, but yeah, I was initially influenced by my pediatrician, Dr. Anthony Thomas, who was practicing here in Chicago, and he was a Black man. And I was so excited when I got into medical school that I came back and told him, that I was going to be just like him when I got into practice. And of course, he said, "No, don't be like me. You can be better." But that's what we all do for each other. We want the next generation to be better. And he was a fantastic physician.
Nice. Thank you, Dr. Kwame Fouché.
Sure.
So I want to introduce, so Larry, tell me your story. I know it's a little different, so please shed light. You have a college, right? You're teaching others how to build a career as a successful barber, and that is a career. And so please kind of, share with us how your passion, and you're also an artist and musician. So what people don't know is that you are also serving I've got artists on here. I love this. And so you are a musician. And so being able to run this company to help others, but then you have, you have a gift as a musician. So if you could just share kind of your walk and your passion around that.
Yeah. So my parents had this lame brain idea about building a house out in the suburbs when I was young. And of course, going out in the suburbs, I'm 47. So going out in the suburbs as a youngster, it's mostly people of the other persuasion, if you will. There was nobody to cut my hair. Went to Walgreens, got a pair of clippers for $19. And I draw too, so I'm an artist as well. So, you know, little do people know that barbering is an art and it's a science. I own eight barber schools, 8 barber and cosmetology schools. I'm gonna have, you know, in other states as well. But I started cutting when I was 13. I've been cutting here for 33 years. I've cut a lot of the greats, the Judge Mathises, the Gary Sheffields, basketball, football, baseball players. Of course, me being a professional musician, I've had the opportunity to cut a lot of people in the music industry as well. So with that, I decided at 17, I'm like, hey, I had a full-fledged barbershop with somebody else working in my basement when I was a teenager. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy. So it was 2 of us in the basement. So when I was 17, I told my parents, I said, this is what I want to do, period. I started charging $3. And I told people, I said, let me cut your hair. If I mess you up, I'll pay you. And I ended up never having to pay anybody. And I eventually went up to like $5. But when I was 17, I was a senior in high school. I went to barber school. When I was 19, I opened up my first barber shop, and I've been in business now for like 28 years. So,
Nice.
yeah, so I'm excited about it. And little do people know is which I said, just the juicy stuff I was going to tell you. And ironically, you have a doctor on here, but the red, white, and blue barber pole. So the red stands for blood, the blue stands for veins, the white stands for bandages, and the ball on the bottom is a basin, what's called a basin. So basically, we did minor surgery. So we have to teach our students about microbiology, bacteriology, electricity and light therapy. They have to learn about the coronavirus. They have to learn about HIV, hepatitis, AIDS, malaria. These things can be pet. So we can be responsible for somebody's death inside of our shops, and people don't know that. That's why it would be considered a misdemeanor if you are caught in a shop without a license. So I'm not taking anything from Dr. Kwame, but my license, he's licensed here in Illinois. If you go on IDFPR, you can find my license on the same website that you can find his license. And I'm licensed in over 22 states on master license. So what we do is very, very important. Going to the essential aspect of this industry, it's definitely essential. It's economy proof. It was the first profession, if you will, in the world, and it's not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So we have to teach about infectious control. We have to teach about sanitation. We have to teach about disinfection. So basically, I think what this has caused to happen is for us to like do a hard reset, for us to go back to the basics. And for those who are not theoretically sound in this industry, you're going to have customers coming in and say, okay, you know what? Tell me what you know. How can I know that I'm going to be safe? And if people don't have their license, if they're not theoretically sound and stuff like that, they're going to lose business. So it's time for me. I feel like it's time for us to maximize.
Yeah. And thank you, because you shared that, but you were like, you're going to wait for the show. So thank you for sharing that, Larry, because it was intentional to make sure that we had a medical doctor in Barbers, because for me, it was about being, you know, that you all are essential. And it's such, and the more that, I think the more that Black people say that and see that, the more that we get to be able to change that. So I'm going to go to Dr. Fouché, because I really want to understand, you know, COVID. You know, Black men were significantly impacted as a result of COVID. And so I really want to understand, why is that? Like, why is it because less men go to the doctor? Like, what is the reason why? And I will tell you all this true story. I know more Black men with COVID than I know women. And that's just, just thinking through, like, wait a minute. Now they're healed and delivered. So let's be clear, they're here. But I'm just saying that as I was sitting here, like, the people that I do know COVID, they were men. So can you help give us some context around that?
Sure, Loretta. Thank you. And please, you can call me Dr. Kwame. That is just fine. You already know me on a first name basis anyway, so okay. we don't have to be all formal.
I know. Thank you.
No. But as far as Black men and COVID is concerned, what we have found after watching this disease take its course is that people and people with obesity are the ones who have fared the worst. And now there's some new studies that are showing that certain blood types may be associated with getting COVID and having the worst symptoms. And I know that we have had some of the worst outcomes with COVID. The research is showing that while COVID has spread rampantly. And when they talk about pandemics, they're talking about something that has affected the world at large. It's not just showing up in small pockets or small communities, it's everywhere. But it is spreading the fastest here in the United States because, we kind of were the slowest to catch up to what was really happening, and we weren't really paying attention to trends. And then, its mechanism of disease spread is respiratory droplets. And when people are in close proximity with each other, then we spread the disease that way. So, as far as being a Black man in America, we are probably suffering from the silent killer, hypertension, more than anybody else. Being Black is a independent risk factor for hypertension. And then obesity, we are carrying too much weight in general. And something happens to us in our 20s, I think, when we just, a lot of hoop dreams die, and people are picking up different habits that cause them to gain weight. And in their 30s and 40s, we're carrying around way too much. And the life expectancy for Black men already is about 10 years less than for other majorities. So that makes it a challenge.
Yeah.
I live across the street from a park. And, the foresight of our mayor was to shut down parks in our communities because I think, we have a lot of transgenerational living arrangements in our community where, people are taking care of small children as well as senior citizens. And when senior citizens are getting this disease, they are dying faster as well. So I guess the mayor was saying, if we limit that communal exposure, then we reduce the risk of the disease passing to senior citizens. But at my park, people want to play football.
Yeah.
People want to play catch. They're still out there passing around a pill that we're touching, and that makes a vehicle for disease transmission.
Did you just call it a pill, man?
I called it the pill,
And you went back, Doc.
I did. They had to take the rims off of the backboards in the park because otherwise we'd be out playing basketball.
Yeah.
We're social people.
Rain, sleet, or snow.
We're social people, and we want to get together.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it's affected our people the most.
Yeah. And I think, I said the state of, Black men's health socially, physically, mentally, what we're dealing with. And so I do want to direct this to Eric, understanding what what's happening. And I know you are a mental health advocate, that's who you are. How have you used your barbershop to be a safe place for men, for Black men to come? Because we know that the barbershops have been around, but really tell us, what happens in the barbershop? Like, what really happens that supports you to be able to be an advocate for mental health?
Well, the thing about the barbershop for years, it's always been a place for Black men where we can come and fellowship. It's a safe zone, it's a safe haven for us. In a barbershop, we have conversations about many topics. We can vent, we can learn, and we can educate. And it's been like that for years, and if you feel safe in a barbershop amongst men, and many conversations can come about. You can have disagreements, then you can have it, and then you can also have agreements. And see where the way I have my studio set up, like with me, I have a comfort level with a lot of my clients, and conversations. We have a lot of real conversations in here about a lot of stuff that's going on, especially now. And in order for me to create that comfort, I'm also open and transparent about myself as far as my struggles and things that that how I get through things, and which was brought up to which put me in a position to even bring up the fact that I do go to therapy. And when amongst black men, a lot of us is a lot of it's a stigma with black men going to therapy, and it's been like that for years. And I'm open, I'm free about it because I'm like, I don't have anything to hide. Everybody has a thing with them, and but it's just like, man, I'm just trying to. A lot of us just trying to figure out answers. We have a lot of stuff that we hold inside from our childhood, and we raised into manhood, still dealing with the pain and or the struggles. And a lot of us grew up without dads, or any type of guidance, or just come from a household. And no, and a lot of us, everybody have some form of issue. And us as black men, because we're not, we don't really have too many people that we can talk to, or we can be vulnerable with each other.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to create that, if I can help somebody somehow. And just by me doing that, it's just basically just being open about myself and saying, hey, yeah, I go to therapy. This is how therapy helped me.
Yeah.
And a lot of at the beginning, a lot of guys like, whoa, you go to therapy, because we don't talk about that. We
Yeah.
don't mention that at all.
Yeah.
Most of the time when we talk to our boys, about stuff, and we vent, but sometimes, and even, people turn you know, to the spiritual part of it to get them through, a lot of things that they're struggling with. But sometimes you just need the extra push and that extra guidance. And going to therapy help, is healthy for us mentally, because now we're learning to express ourselves and what to do with these emotions and these thoughts and these struggles that we've been dealing with.
Yeah.
And I just tell people, I've been going to therapy for 6 years. And
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Wait,
Yeah.
can we pause? I'm sorry, Eric. You've been, I'm just going to say this. I don't know that I've heard that. So let me be clear. I've heard men go to therapy, but you said you've been going for 6 years.
Mhm.
Wow. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just telling you that right there is wow for me. Because
Yeah.
I have yet to hear that.
If I
Yeah.
could speak up in support of Eric, by the way, that's great, man, because you know what? The more people you help, the more people you come in contact with, the first things you have to do is take care of yourself if you're going to be helping to take care of other people. So if Eric's thing is supporting people with his shop and having a healthy, safe space for men to communicate, then he needs his healthy space
Yeah.
to reinvigorate himself, to have a cup that has something to pour out of to
Yeah.
help other people.
Yeah.
And he's not the only one. I enjoy going to therapy as well. And I say enjoy because I'm adding tools that help me to be resilient no matter what happens in life. It's not just about what has happened in the past, but we continue to experience trauma. We all just watched all these we've been watching black people die at the hands of police for the last 10 years because it's just now getting recorded. And how do we process that
Right.
trauma? If
Yeah.
you don't think that
Yeah.
watching stuff like that is painful and you have to
Absolutely.
deal with it in some way,
Absolutely.
you're sadly mistaken. You got to put tools into yourself that allow you to experience the traumas of being a black man in America and keep going and stay positive for your family, stay positive for your friends, stay positive to those who look to you for leadership. So Eric, I support you, and I praise you for doing that. That's
Thank you.
wonderful.
I thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. And see, with everything's going on as well, it's just, a lot of anxiety with us is heavy. It's thick, and it's just like, man, like, and, we get tired. And then it's like the things that black men feel inside. And I'm sure both of these guys can vouch, man. It's just like the everyday struggle was just trying to just live and do the best we can, and do at the same time we have to battle what's going on now.
Yeah.
You make it back home, and then that's an anxiety thing that we worry about
Yeah.
already on top of everything else we have to deal with as men.
Yeah, that's good. Larry, I'd love to get your thoughts around it. I mean, obviously you're creating careers for barbers. I mean, what is the state of, your barbers and how they're feeling, and creating, spaces for mental health?
Well, the thing about it is that what people don't, Eric said it best. He said, our shops are like a safe haven. So that's why it's important. You wouldn't believe the people who don't think what we do is important. But since I've been 18 years old, I've probably made 6 figures cutting hair at 18 years old. I used to cut between 25 and 38 heads every day. Most heads I would cut in one day was 48 heads. You know what I'm saying? Starting at 4 a.m. in the morning. We make a lot of money. Now you can make $500 in an 8-hour day cutting hair if you the man and if you know what you're doing. So my point being is that, but a lot of people don't look at us like that because of our postures inside of the shop. What does that mean? Our postures meaning that we don't care about what kind of music we play on the radio. You know, our language is foul. You know, we're ignorant. You got people standing all out in the front, make people afraid to come in your shop. You know, there's no uniformity. We don't look like who we say we are. There are so many different things. So part of my non-for-profit, like in my schools, my curriculum involves, I have a non-for-profit, it's called Data Foundation. My curriculum involves mentorship, life skills, mental health, substance abuse, bridge housing, and everything that revolves around making sure that you don't allow your character to take you someplace that your gift can't handle, right? So you can be the best barber in the world, or you can be the best doctor in the world, but if you're always late, if you're unprofessional, if your posture doesn't add up to how good you are on the clippers, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm one of the best barbers in the world. But if I'm always late, or if my atmosphere is not conducive to professionalism, then I can hang it up. So these are part of the things that's a part of my everyday program inside of all of my schools, even inside of the jails. You know what I'm saying? And you know, you may not know this, but I wrote a book called Suicide Is Not the Answer. I dealt with suicide, not because I was an unhappy person, not because of just being in business, you know, a Black businessman. You know, we're talking about that. You know, going to the bank, knowing that you qualify for loans, and you know they don't give you the loan because of the color of your skin. You know, we know that that's a lot of what it has to do with. And then with me growing up in church, the pressure of feeling like, you know, all you have to do is live your life like this, and if you live your life like this, then you know nothing bad will happen to you. But I think that was just kind of like a myth, so to speak, because I got older thinking that, okay, you know, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't use drugs, I didn't do none of this, I didn't go to the show, I didn't do all of these things. But then to get older and to find out that, you know, feeling like they're doing better, I'm thinking that they're doing better than I'm doing when it wasn't that. But I wrote in my book that you have to go through in order to get to, but how you deal with what you go through determines how you come out. So what I had to realize is that had God given me in my early 20s what he's showing me that he want me to have right now, like I was always prophesied to that I was going to be this multi-millionaire. I'm like, okay, you know, yeah, I want to be, but how in this industry? But God had to let me go through some things so that way when he started putting me in that position, I would be able to handle it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if this is the right platform for it, but you know, when I was a baby, I got molested. So that caused me it caused me, like, I can't help what somebody did to me as a baby. You know what I'm saying? And it helped me not to be so judgmental for the people that might have went through the same thing I went through, but it didn't affect me the way it affected other people because I didn't understand that. So I remember standing up in my barbershop. I was 21 years old. I was cutting hair. I picked up the phone and called my mom and say, "Mom, I got something to tell you." She like, "What?" And I never ever said it ever before because I feel like it didn't affect me. I was a womanizer, you know. I mean, hey, for men, we thinking that's good. Like, hey, but you know what I'm saying? I got all the women I want. But then I call, I say, "Mom, this happened to me when I was a baby." And she's like, "Larry, for real?" I'm like, you know what? I just wanted to tell somebody. But I went to counseling as well. You know, I went to a therapist. I had to sit down with a therapist because I used to be very angry. Man, I done threw so many pair of clippers at people, and I done punch holes in the wall and beat up my barbers, and you know, I did all of that. And I was trying to figure out where's this coming from. So I had to go and sit with a therapist for them to go back and rewind the time to say, oh, that's where it came from. And then it took me 10 years to write my book, Suicide Is Not the Answer. And I didn't know why it took me so long to write it, but I had to go through it in order for me to understand why people deal with suicide. People don't deal with suicide because they decide, oh man, I just don't want to live life no more. No, I tell people, man, I used to go home and I would be balled up like a baby in depression. But you would never know because when I left out my house, I was always smelling good, dressed nice, driving the best cars, made sure I fulfilled all my obligations to everybody, but then can't because nobody believed that I was going through it because I wore it well, right? So I wore it well, and what I end up realizing is that people, when they're hurting, this is like if I call you, you think I'm, you know, oh man, that's Larry, and I say, hey man, I need you. Oh man, you good? You don't need me, but I need you. no, you don't need me. So then it's like you go around and nobody will help you. And when you tell them you need them, so when people deal with suicide, in my opinion, it's like that's the level. I'm gonna show you how bad I'm hurting. I played my funeral in my head. It's like, okay, people gonna be getting up saying that, man, I woulda, shoulda, coulda, I should have helped them, this, that, and the other. So that's what helped me get the light to. So that's why I said suicide is not the answer. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have a problem with speaking about whatever. So being a Black businessman and just doing this, man, it's our position to make sure that people understand that we are important. We are important. What we do is important, and we got to help each other. It's about team. It's not about I. It's about team. Whether you Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, or whatever, it's about team. But during this pandemic and in this season, we got to help each other, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
And that's why I'm in the jail. People don't know that I've been in Cook County Jail now with my school, so I'm first person in history to ever do this. And I'm in Illinois Department of Juvenile Justice with Governor Pritzker. We did the ribbon cutting, so I'm in two of those state. I'm the first person in the state accredited program, and I do it for free. It costs $15,000 per student to go to my school. But inside the jails, I've been in Cook County Jail for 10 years. I do it for free. Why do I do that? Because I understand that when these guys mess up, and the young ladies, they mess up when they're young, and they get out and say, man, I don't want to go back there. So, Larvetta, can I have a job? Dr. Kwame, can I get a job in your office? Eric, man, can I work in your shop? All right, do this resume. You got a background. Oh, man, you can't work for me. So what do? They got to feed their families. They got to take, like you said, some people, they don't know who their fathers are. Some people, their moms might be a crackhead or alcoholic, whatever. So they end up going back in the system because nobody will give them an opportunity to do something different. That's why I chose going to jail, so that way they can finish all their certifications while they're locked up. So when they get out, I can walk them right to where they need to be, period.
And when I say Larry, the reason why I built this was because I truly believe that in a crisis, so just so you all know, right, Airbnb was created as a result of the financial crisis in 2008. Forbes puts out a list of businesses that are created in a crisis. What I noticed was that it's not a lot of us. It's maybe one or two of us, right? And so what I wanted to make sure is that we're visible so that when that report is made, hey, we're here. And
why, Larvetta, but why is that though? Why isn't it a lot of us?
Well,
I know why, but we built this country. We built this country. When Drew Brees is trying to say that, hey, my grandparents fought in the war. Well, my grandparents fought in the war too. And when we came back, what did we get? A meal, if that. But we was beat up on the way back. So don't do that. We invented the stoplights. We invented the dryers. We invented the irons. We invented all of these things. We did the cotton field. We did the farming. We did all of these things. We was the first heart surgeons, Dr. Kwame. You know what I'm saying? We did all of these things, but y'all don't want to give us the credit. We the most athletic. Y'all want to see us run the pill.
And we're the most innovative. We're the most innovative.
And they putting stuff in their lips to get their lips bigger. They putting stuff in their butts to get their butts bigger. Y'all
trying to make our hair like ours, everything.
Come on, man.
Look at TikTok. TikTok is,
period. I'm so sick of the savages, period. Do you hear me? So it's almost like, man, let's just learn how to work freaking together, period. You know what I'm saying? And we're intelligent, we're smart. We're smart. If I would have had the financial resources I needed, I would have been a billionaire by now. A billionaire. But you have to go to hard money lenders. You have to borrow $50,000 with a 50-60% interest rate when you've been putting millions of dollars through a bank. They won't even give you $10,000 when they know that you qualify for it. Yeah. So because we don't want nobody to stop us and tell us that we can't do it, guess what? We figure it out anyway.
Yep. And Larry, thank you, because I truly have to say that this dialogue is so necessary during this time. So I want to address what you said. Why is that? And I'm gonna say why. One is as an agency, as a marketing agency, I'm very bold and unapologetic that I hire Black people. So if you don't want to roll with me, it's cool. But I'm going to make sure that Black people in my neighborhood will have skills. They know how to write. They know how to, they know how to show up. They know how to do PowerPoint. And, so those are skills that can be transferable in other businesses. But to your point, The reason why a lot of us are not there is because we don't have enough of us advocating to ensure that we're there. And so that's why. Right. And
Mm.
so advocate
Crawfish in the barrel.
exactly. And so for, as and you think about it for us, we're making sure that nope, we know somebody. Nope, you can't say that. Nope, they're certified. Yep, they're licensed. Yep. And so when you check off all those boxes and you don't have that, and you're not able to deliver, like I question you, say, you're certified, you're licensed, you're this, you're that. Okay, now why I don't have it? And the one thing that I said, and I've said this, and I said this, when people of color invest in people of color, that's when we make impact. So Larry, you are investing in people of color. So guess what? That creates a generation. Eric, when you invest in those people that are sitting there and encouraging for mental, then that's a change. For you, Kwame, you're investing in making sure people have, when we start to see that, then it doesn't seem so unreal, right? And so that's important that we're constantly making sure that we invest. And I know for me, it's hard to say this, but it's all we got to do is change one, because one can change a whole generation. And so, being able to do that. And so when I sit here and I hear, you're 28 years, right? I've been at this 20 years, but to your point, it's like, I still couldn't get along, right? I still couldn't elevate. I still was not able to do that. And so you can see as my profession, oh, that's, what you do. Oh, okay. That's market. Oh, you don't really do that, right? But when you really think about it, what we're doing is hiring people. That's the thing. We're hiring people that will keep people off the street. So I do want to talk about essential services because, Eric, you're in Baltimore, right? DC? Baltimore?
I'm in Maryland. I'm in PG County, Maryland.
Okay, Maryland. So you're in Maryland.
Yes.
We're, Larry and Kwame, we're in Chicago. So they were like, okay, essential services, that's all we can do, right? So they could go see Kwame. You could go to the doctor, but you can't go to the barber. So to me, I was troubled because I felt like
they was able to get the dog's haircut too.
Right.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Listen. Oh man.
Yep.
Oh man.
So
the liquor stores.
The liquor stores. I wanted to have this dynamic because what I wanted to make sure to understand that people that are watching, that are leaders, that these barbershops are essential services. I get it. I understand it. They're licensed. They are licensed, just as Larry said. Thank you for that history. Is they're licensed to be able to protect us, to ensure that we will get the proper care and we will be safe. So Eric, in your state, because we're in Illinois, we want the world to say, how did you feel about that? Knowing, again, the part that I want to make sure people understand is that not only you're a barber, but you're a mental health advocate. So given the fact that we're locked in, right? We can't go nowhere. We look crazy, right? We can't put ourselves together. How did that make you feel given the work that you're doing, in your community?
I went through so many, thought processes and emotions. It's just crazy because for one, the hair industry took a big hit. And, the fact that, of course, they like, they looked at us and like, hey, we're not really essential. And I was like, oh man, and then, of course, our job is that important where eventually they had to figure out a way to make us essential, because now you got to remember, as much as they didn't think we wasn't essential, but at the same time, people still work. They still have meetings. They still are on TV. They still have to show some sort of they have to have an appearance. So after a while, as time go on, you looking like, hey, wow, I'm looking kind of, oh man, I'm looking kind of rough here. But then a lot, just going back to what Larry said earlier, our job is bigger than just cutting hair. We actually had to study, like, everything about pathogens and disease. We had to learn everything. And when I was explaining to someone a couple of months ago, I was like, when it comes to our profession, we have to take certain precautions. We have to, like with me, I make sure my seats are clean. I make sure my doorknobs are clean. I write down everything before and after each client. I wear masks, I wear gloves, and that's why I was kind of like, man, we are essential because how many Instagram memes you seen of
But
people
see, Eric,
making barber jokes?
the issue is that the people who were making these decisions, the power that were making these decisions, don't understand how essential we are. For
They don't.
example, if you ask somebody, they say, man, they got a ringworm. What a theoretic word for this is tinea. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Something going on with their beard. That's tinea psychosis. You said that the way you started cutting hair is because you had some deficiencies or something going on in
Yeah.
your head. So a lot of people, like for black people, what they don't know is that why do black people bump up so much? Because our
Right.
hair is over curly. You have round cell
Curly.
hair, you have curly hair. So our hairs turn around when you don't get a shave. It turn around and go back the other way, which means it pushes out bumps and all of that kind of
Right.
stuff. That causes pustules, that causes blackheads. So
Hmm.
again, we are very essential, but people don't understand it. And what has
Mhm.
happened is it's been watered down by the people who aren't licensed, who aren't educated, who don't even own a can of Clippercide to kill stuff, who don't read the bottom to say this kill HIV, AIDS, this, that, and the other, man.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, I just feel like this was an opportunity for all of us in this industry to maximize. Did it affect me? You know what? In 28 years of being in business, my businesses have never did as good as they're doing it right now.
Right.
Wow. How is that? How is
Yeah.
that? You know why?
Yeah.
Because I prepared myself not for a day like this, but I educated myself with nobody else didn't tell me. You know what I'm saying? When I
Hmm.
taught my classes, when I was a full-time instructor, I made sure I put new words up on the board. Like y'all gonna know more than just the, if, and, but y'all learn some words so you can sit around a round table. You can be professional. I was teaching them about incorporating themselves, being incorporated. So guess what? I was able to take advantage of the PPP, the paycheck protection, because I pay taxes. They was like, people was calling me, man, can I get unemployment? How can you get something and you never paid anything into it? And
Yeah.
that's why, Larvetta, I believe that they didn't consider it essential because the liquor stores, guess what? The taxes, the money coming from that, the taxes get to go back into the economy. You know what I'm saying? So they were looking at it from that aspect because we don't pay. I pay taxes.
I
I
do.
Yeah,
got my
I
stimulus
pay
check.
taxes.
Mine got deposited as soon as they start doing it. But we can do it as well. So I was teaching the barbers about you can be a one-person incorporation. Incorporate yourself, even if you rent a booth. Take all your cash money, put it in your corporate account, have
Mhm.
paychecks, pay lossy, whoever you want that to be. Take your Social Security out, your federal, your state, your 401k, cut yourself a check from your corporation. Boom. You're essential.
Exactly.
You're paying
That's
taxes. You got something to
exactly what I
retire to.
explained.
You got Social Security. But a
Yeah.
lot of people, they don't care about it from that aspect. It's almost like not having a life policy. I'm 20. What I need a life policy for? Because you can die tomorrow.
Yep. This
Right.
is good. And when I say it's good, because, to your point, it's about planning and preparing for crisis, right? And
Right.
so if you've been in business, and I'm going to say this for you, Eric, for most of us, I've seen multiple crises. So I'm only standing because I've had to have one crisis and I had to learn from it to prepare for this. So all of this is helping us and grooming us. So I do want to talk about a little bit about being proactive in self-care because, women, we do the self-care, right? So I really want to dig into what men do for self-care. Like I feel how much you guys are changing the world. And I say, who cares for the caretaker? And you are all taking care of people and keeping them safe. So I'm gonna go to you, Kwame. Kwame, how can we be proactive, and how do you, as a man, as a father, what do you practice self-care? How do you do that in these troubled times as a business owner and a medical doctor?
Well, organization and structure is so critical because when you have a format for which you can detect when something is different, that can be a yellow light or a red light signal that something needs to be addressed. If you have a system that's operating efficiently, then that's great. But if it's inefficient, then that means something is wrong. And there's really 6 ways that I teach people to evaluate kind of life and look at when something is not going right. how do I go about addressing it and being proactive? And that is your spiritual life, your physical life, your intellectual life, emotional, social, and financial. Okay,
Okay.
so you need all those things to be working right to have an efficiently operating human system, right? If you've got good relationships, that's going to be reinforcing to everything else that's in your life. If you got a good flow of money, and you're not having to do without things just because of money, that helps. Or if you're able to adhere to and follow a budget, that makes a big difference. If you've got a good spiritual foundation, that provides you a context with which to deal with the challenges in life that keep you as a moral, upstanding human being. So those things come together and help you to be proactive. If you have a format by which to think about it and evaluate it, then you can be proactive. And if you fall off, then you got to look for support in those areas. Like you need a financial planner, or you need an accountant on your side in terms of financial. Spiritual, you need to go to a good church or have a good spiritual leader in your life. Physically, you have to be exercising. You have to go to the doctor, make sure that you're taking care of your health. Know your vital signs, know your cholesterol numbers, know your family history and that risk that presents you with the set of diseases that are most likely to affect you just based on what your genetic makeup is. That you're constantly taking in new information.
So can I ask you this, Kwame, and I want to make sure, why don't men go to doctors? I mean, you say, well, I know men who say, I haven't been to the doctor, and they're 55 years old, and they're like, I've never been to the doctor.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I would ask you, what reminds women to go to the doctor. Men don't have that reminder to go to the doctor. If women didn't have an issue that reminds them monthly that something needs to be taken care of, then they wouldn't go to the doctor either. That's the first thing.
I ain't
But
never heard.
then,
Hey, I ain't never heard it say it like that,
Me
man.
neither. I was like, that's
I
good.
ain't never heard it say it like that.
Yo,
What reminds you to go to the doctor?
man,
That was the most professional way you can
That's
say
I
it.
good.
know it really was.
That was good, Kwame. That was good.
the second thing is, for Black people in general, we have a distrust of the healthcare system, and that comes possibly from having a different level of what we call health literacy. And health literacy is what allows you to understand the healthcare system and apply it to you to get the most out of the system. And, a lot of us don't have a high level of health literacy. It's not taught in school how to interpret an explanation of benefits. If you get that from your insurance company, a lot of times your eyes just glaze over because you don't understand, whether it's a bill or how much of the bill. The doctor charged you this, but you're responsible for this much. You got a copay. It's confusing. So a lot of people don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
And then there's just a general distrust of the medical system because we know what has happened historically to people who don't understand what's going on when they go in front of licensed professionals who misuse their power. And the world is full of people who have misused their power, but you don't want a doctor to be experimenting on you, and people don't recognize when the doctor is truly working in their behalf, and a test is truly necessary or a vaccine is truly necessary. So once we can see somebody who looks like us, or we have the ability to establish trust with our healthcare provider, that provides the inroads for someone to go to the doctor more regularly.
If I can
So
piggyback off that, I would say too, just kind of thinking about what you're saying, first of all, men, we think we got it. Like we too tough, you know what I'm saying? We got it. We solid, we good. Like I went to the gym today. I still go to the gym, I still play. I still think I'm 18 sometimes, man, playing basketball, football, baseball, the whole 9 yards, man. But I think a lot of times, what end up happening is that going to the doctor can almost be like, what
Like
do you
something's
want?
wrong?
Like what do you want for your life? Like where do you want your life to go? So if you don't care about living a long, healthy life, and if you don't care about, what tomorrow brings, you want to live, paycheck to paycheck, this, that, and the other, it won't give people the unction to say, you know what, let me go to the dentist on the regular, let me go to the doctor on the regular, let me watch what I eat, let me work out, let me set me up a 401k, let me make sure that I'm paying into Social Security, in Barbers cases and all that kind of stuff. So I think that going to the doctor can almost be like, okay, what do you want for your life? If you don't care about your life, then hey, you know what I'm saying? It's just a day by day thing for you. You know what I'm saying? So, man, I'm glad to hear you say that, man. You know what I'm saying? That's very, very vital. And it's important for us to go check ourselves out. You know what I'm saying? Thank God. But then too, a lot of it got to do with people smoking and drinking and getting high and, like you said earlier, hypertension, stressing out. Like I thank God, man, that I didn't struggle from anything crazy, man. But, like I used to stress a lot, man, about my businesses, because I wanted to succeed so much. I had to start just chilling, man. But I was able, like I had COVID. So I had the coronavirus, I'm sure that I picked it up from being around, probably the jail, and because they had like over 500 cases there. But the fact of the matter is that I believe that my immune system was strong enough to combat it because of, my choice of how I eat, the choice of that I still go and work out and I run and I exercise and, I don't drink and I don't smoke and stuff like that, man. So, so that's my little testimony, man. I was able to overcome it. I thought I was having anxiety attacks at first. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on the basketball court. I say, I know I'm in shape. What's going on? Couldn't hardly breathe and none of that stuff. This is before it really hit, you know what I'm saying? So that's what it ended up being, man. And I just quarantined myself, took care of myself, you know what I'm saying? And I was good.
And thank you, Larry, for just sharing that, because I think it takes a lot of courage to just say it, right? And so some people don't want to say it. I do have a question that I do want to ask. We have a question that someone asked, but I want to make sure, because this is a question I asked, my team is, how can women support Black men in this, given what you guys are experiencing? I do want to ask that question because that is a question that a lot of women ask.
Being respectful, just respect us as men. You know what I'm saying? You can't handle what we can handle. You just like we can't handle having no baby. You can't like I would never ever put my hands on a woman ever in my life. Put my hands on a woman. But the fact of the matter is that I feel like there's no woman in this world that can beat me up. Period. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, just being a little jovial about that. But with that being said, women just got to respect who we are, and we got to respect them back. That's how we can get the support. That's, to me, that's one of the number one things.
I mean, and as a respectful, you are a business owner, so respecting you, who is leading a business, is that also important too for you?
That's important, but I'm talking about the respect wholeheartedly and allow us to be men. You know what I'm saying? Don't treat us like we weak and like we not nothing, because then some people succumb to that. You know what I'm saying? So like, just respect us as business owners, and we need to respect women, and we need to support them as our queens as well. Period. You know what I'm saying?
Eric, I'm gonna go to you, and then I'm gonna go to you, Kwame, and then I got a question because we y'all, this is good. This is good stuff. Okay, Eric.
I'm gonna say that it has to be more communication with us, with our queens. It has to be, and not just a communication. It has to be understanding, like, and just that's going back to us being, if we're going to be willing to be open, and which is very hard for guys to be very vulnerable at times. But when we are, those are the moments where it requires like just understanding, and it goes both ways. But it just understanding, and just for us to basically just be able to express each other and understand it and not shoot it back at us. And so we can build up that bond, so you can be like, no, okay, I get it, I understand, this is what I need to do, this is what he's saying to me. It goes both ways. But I feel like it has to be it has to be a stronger bond with emotionally and mentally with Black women. you know,
Good.
which I mean, it is. I feel like we like other than like black men, we have our women. You know, we have to be on the same page of understanding, and I think with that we were able to move forward with that and with that support. You know,
That's good.
that's
Uh,
just how I felt.
Kwame, can you tell us how women can support the black men with what they're experiencing?
Yeah, I like what Larry said about respect. I like what Eric said about communication. And I think that the common thread that runs through both of those things is a desire to listen for understanding before you have a desire to tell somebody else something. So if we're ever going to communicate effectively, it's going to come with first learning how to listen. And it doesn't really matter what you say if it's not heard from the other person, if it's not understood and interpreted correctly from the other person. And we are socially different, but we need each other, men and women. We have different ways of approaching things, different ways of communicating and expressing ourselves. So if you're a black woman or whoever, if you're a woman and you're trying to support a man in your life, you need to try first to listen and understand and ask extra questions, and don't assume that somebody has heard you one way just because you said something one way. Ask and it's quite okay to say, did let me repeat to you what you said so I can
Yes,
make sure that I've understood you the way that you want it to be understood.
that's
Or to say, would you mind, after I've said something, let me know in your words what you think I said, because I don't want to be misunderstood. And those simple misunderstandings that just come from the difference in the way that we express ourselves socially can make all the difference in the world and make and break relationships. So
Exactly.
that's for all of us, men and women alike, in support of each other, that we would learn to listen first before trying to express our minds.
So I
Yeah,
have
that's
a question that we have that's posed to Eric, and I do want to ask, and I will add that, as a communicator and who runs a communications agency, the one thing I said is that we have to learn how to be curious, not critical. So thank you for saying that. So I do want to just get a question out really, really quickly. Is Eric, how has going to therapy changed you after 6 years? And we got a little bit of time, guys, but I know I want to get you off because you
okay.
got.
I'm gonna make it as brief as possible. Well, it's changed me along with the maturity as well, but it uh it gave me a bigger window to see the world, and to give me a better understanding about people around me, people who were around me growing up from childhood to manhood. It gave me a better way of thinking as far as, okay, understand why this person is like this, the person that affected your life. Why did they do that? Why are they like that? Figure out who they are, understand the type of people they are, because everybody has a story, and from the past 6 years, I don't think, if I didn't go to therapy, I don't think I'll be in the position I'm in now, mentally, spiritually, and like I said, I'm still work in progress.
Yeah.
Like I said, I still attend therapy, but it's one of those things where it helps guide you and your thinking and the way you see the world and the way you see people around you and the people that you keep around you or you choose to keep around you. It 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 gave me, it helped me find who I was. It had me dig deep and look myself in the mirror and face the person that I didn't want to look, that I didn't really want to see, you
Mhm.
know, and it gave me courage enough to look in the mirror and be able to be like, you know what, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be this angry. I
Yep.
don't want to be. I'm tired of being confused. I'm tired of being this guy. I need change. I need to figure out how can I communicate better. How can I express myself better? How I know when to pull back? How know when to shut up? Know when to be quiet? Know when to handle things.
So I'm
And
gonna say this, guys. Just because I run a time business, I try to
yeah,
get y'all out because I don't want y'all mad at me. I
oh
do this.
yeah,
I don't want y'all mad at me and say I got on this and she didn't finish up in 60 minutes. So, Eric, I want to make sure that we honor your time. I do. I believe that, and people need to honor time. So I want to honor, but I love this conversation. So I want to be clear that y'all are giving me everything that I want. So I want to say really quickly, because I know you got to jump off. How can people get in contact with you? Anything you got going on that people can support? I just want to give you about 30 seconds to do that.
Okay, well, yes, people, you can follow me at cleancutthebarber.com. That's my website. You can follow me on Instagram at cleancut_thebarber, and that's clean cut with K's. Once you go on my page, I have an online digital class that I launched. Feel free, you can find that on my website as well. It just shows you different styles, some of my techniques, my tricks, and my trade, designs, the whole nine. I do have merch. And just look out, man. I just want to just keep putting the message out there about mental health, man. I think it's time for us to break the stigma so us as Black men as a whole can grow and we can be better, especially in this particular time that we're in now.
Yes, support my brother, Eric Dixon. I'm going to go over, support him because he said yes today. He has clients and he said yes. So thank you for being here with us. I appreciate you, Eric.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And when I get, I can't get a barber cut, but I just still come and say hello. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I want to go. I want to just make sure that we can talk about what you got going on, how people can support you, follow you, and continue the work that you're doing as our MD.
Well, yeah, thank you for the banner down below, which spells out my name and spells out my social media handle. You can find me at Dr. Kwame Fouché on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I am still developing a YouTube channel where I'm going to be putting out great information, and drkwame.com is my website. I have written a book, and there's a workbook that goes with it. Again, it's helping fathers to be more actively engaged in the lives of their children and build more resilience in those kids and have better relationships. So in the very near future, I'll be launching a coaching course. If you would like more information, just send me an email, drkwame@drkwame.com. I'd love to correspond with you and keep you up to date with developments as that book comes out. And the website is a great way to look at. I've written some blogs about just some basic topics that dads might want to put in their pocket to help them to manage their relationships with their kids. So thank you, Lavetta, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Kwame. And let me just say this. I don't know about you, that for those that listen, business owners, you need to have a doctor in your network that you can text and call. Because surely when I was dealing with stuff, I had to call Kwame and say, look, my father's experiencing this. What do you think? So I encourage you to make sure you have that in your network. I'm going to move over to my other buddy, Larry, over here. Any final words about what you're doing? In Chicago, we're open now. And so just tell us what you're already doing, because you're already doing some amazing things. And
thank you for having me on the show. It was definitely a pleasure to be with Eric and Dr. Kwame. So thank you again for having me on the show. Basically, my website is larrysbarbercollege.com. My non-for-profit, my 501c3 website is datafoundationinc.org. People, they can give donations to what it is I'm doing. I'm just trying to help to create alternatives to violence, but along with that, just trying to educate a new generation of barber stylists. You know what I'm saying? We don't just cut hair, but we do it all. The only difference between cosmetology and barbers is that we can use a razor, they can't, but it's really all the same. You know what I'm saying? The IDFPR can care less about how great you cut hair and how good you do designs, but it's about the wealth and the welfare and the health of your clients and all of that kind of stuff. So basically, my social media is Larry Roberts Jr., Larry's Barber Colleges on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm on all of that, IG. And I've really used the opportunity to really maximize where I am. I don't sleep at night because my wheels don't shut off. You know what I'm saying? So I've used this opportunity that we kind of woosawed a little bit, but man, I'm trying to make it soar. So, it's some great stuff coming up and look out for it.
So I just want to say to everyone that was watching and tuning in, thank you. We had great engagement. People were asking questions, and so I appreciate those that are here. For those that are just tuning in, I do this every week, every Friday. I may bring these fellas back. I may hit y'all back to bring y'all back.
I would love to come back.
I think you guys gave a lot of context to what we need right now. And so I just want to say, for those that are tuning in, please go to the channel, subscribe to Larvetta L. Lofton. I promise you, we've been pushing out. This is 8th episode, and we started with COVID. So I just want to say, this is my way. Thank you. This is my way to serve my community and bring access to people, because you all are thought leaders. You all are thought leaders. And it's important that we bring people like you all as business owners, as minorities, to make sure we can pivot. I love, Eric, that you said, now I have digital class. Like, we're pivoting in ways that we never thought we could do to be able to build our businesses. And so for me, I think that that's important, is that making sure that people understand that this time is about pivoting and ensuring that we can do that. So I'm just going to sign out to tell everybody, thank you all for tuning in. Feel free to share this. And please bless our brothers. Allow them to be amazing leaders in this world. Protect them from what they have to go through that we will never know. We will never understand. But one thing we know for sure is that they are major contributors to this world. So I love you all. I thank you all.
We love you too.
Okay. All right, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, man. See you later, man. Nice to meet you.
Peace.
You as well.